Uh, Good evening, everyone. This is Sagar, the tutor from Tutoslive. You can see the screen like anytime. If you cannot hear me, you can just put your message here in the chat area so that I can see that. I may help you out. Hey, hi, wait. Uh, how are you? Hello. Yeah, wait. Let us wait for another 5 minutes because there are very few users in here. So then let me ask you a few questions like how did you hear us from Facebook, Twitter, what's the media? Hi Aaron, how are you? Cool, great. Yeah, just instead of wasting time, let us directly go into the class. So if you I mean a little introduction about me. I'm Sagar. I'm a web developer. I develop web applications in PHP. I'll be your tutor. Uh, the course is about web development in PHP. The course duration is for 45 days every day, 90 minutes or less than 90 minutes. The class will be 5 days a week. You'll be given a project which you'll be working on it, and I'll be helping you in the project. You can host the project on our website. So that is about Tutoslive. So today's class. So this is the first class we are hosting. We have started today. Uh, I'm waiting on a few people to join in, but I'll go ahead and start that. So everybody knows internet. So internet is something which connects all systems. Actually, it's all about connecting the systems which are online, which are hooked to internet. So that is internet where we make some requests and we get responses. So that is internet. So how does it work actually? Like what is behind the scenes of the internet? What's happening? So in this class we'll be discussing about that. So the first thing, what we do whenever we go online, we go to a browser. Browser is nothing but Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Safari, Opera. These are all browsers. So we open a browser and type in a domain name or a URL or an address, like say www.google.com. So this is called URL or domain name or canonical name, whatever they call it as. But this is the domain name. So what happens when we type in? Say, I'll draw some pictures here to understand better. So this is our machine or our computer. You can see the screen, right? If any time if you cannot hear me, just ping me in the chat area so that I can repeat that. So uh, this is a computer. It's called client computer. So whatever your computer or my computer or anybody's computer. So go into the browser. Uh, Yeah, cool. Can you see anything now, Arun? No? Let me. Okay. Now the screen, or can you see this welcome screen? Okay, I just switched to another screen. So here's a welcome screen and here's a class screen. So I switched just now. So that's the reason you have seen those that blank white screen. Cool. So I'm explaining about how internet actually works, like what happens when we type a URL in the browser. So this is the client machine. Say in a client machine, I open a browser. So client machine is any computer. If you go into the browser and just type in the URL in the address bar, say www.google.com, what happens? So at first time, the client machine will look for the address. Where is google.com? It's just like any other address. Like for instance, if I want to send a letter to someone, so what do? I write their name and their address on the letter. So it's just like that. So google.com is an address. It's somewhere, again, it's on a computer. So as I told you before, like internet is nothing but a connectivity between different computers which are hooked together. So this browser, what it is, it goes and looks for where is google.com. So there's another computer, and this time this is called server. Server is like a high capacity computer where all the files reside, and they're all given a particular address. Like say, take it as an apartment. So each flat in an apartment has a particular number. So just like that, server is again a computer wherein all the files reside. So in this example, I say there are several files here. So this is the Google's address, and there may be other too, but in reality Google has their own huge server. But as an example, I'm saying because everybody is familiar with Google, so as soon as they open their browsers, they type in Google. So I'm taking Google as a reference. So there are other files too. So as soon as I type in www.google.com and hit enter, it looks for the address. Where is Google? So Google is in a computer which is called a server, and there is a folder called Google. So it goes there. And what it does, yeah, I found Google. So here are the files which I'm sending them back. So what it does, yeah, I found Google. So I'm giving you back these files. So let me draw a little arrow here. Yeah. So whenever we type the address, it's called a request. So the top arrow is a request. So my browser makes a request to the internet saying, hey, where is Google? My the person who is on the computer. Actually, Sandeep has a question here. Sandeep, I have stopped the broadcasting, video broadcasting, since it's a bandwidth. So I don't want any interruptions in the audio or the screen. So I just shut down the video part. If you want, like I can turn it on at the end of the class, so it doesn't interrupt the class. Is that okay? Cool, fine. So whenever a person types in the address, the browser makes a request to the internet saying, hey, where is Google? And it looks for Google, and it looks on the server, a server machine. So the files are found. Then this is called the response. So what does a browser do? A browser just sends a request, gets a response, and displays the whole thing, whatever is in the file, to the user who is requesting the URL. So this is the typical internet. What's happening on the internet side. Now, what does it render back? So I made a request. So what are all those files in the Google folder? What's happening in the Google folder? So let us look into that. So usually this browser, it doesn't understand, it only understands HTML. Like, whatever we have to feed to the browser, it must be a HTML file to make it display. So typically this particular Google folder has HTML files. So I'll type here browser requests for Google files which are HTML. Okay, I'll come to HTML. So these files, just like any other files, like say if you are writing a notepad, it's a text file. If you are writing a Word document, it's doc file. So like such, HTML is a kind of extension. I'll come to HTML part later. So what browser does is like it gets the HTML files as a response, which are HTML, and they are rendered to the user. So what we know here is like the browser understands HTML. So if it is not HTML, it cannot render any output. So that is the browser. Browser is just an application which renders HTML file so that we can see some output on the browser. So this is typically what's happening on the server side. So what does these files have? These files have HTML, and what else? Now I'll come to the HTML part. HTML is hypertext markup language. Yeah. So HTML is hypertext markup language. We all know, like, what do we use language for? We use language for communication. So there must be server files, the Google files, and the user. So that medium is the language. So what browser understands? Browser understands the markup language, and we understand plain text or English. So this it's a language. And what is hypertext? Hypertext is linking between different URLs. So internet is all about, as I said, it's all about connectivity. So hypertext is nothing but linking all the URLs. Suppose, for instance, I type google.com. So google.com may have some other links, like say privacy, terms and conditions. So these are all again links. So it's all connectivity. If you click on one link, it takes you to that link, and there may be other links in the web pages. So hypertext is all about linking between different URLs. And markup language is tags. So this is what. So the browser understands tags. We call them. Everybody can see it, right? I'm just typing a little low there. Cool. So tags. So there must be some differentiation between normal text and what browser understands. So there comes the markup. So markup is nothing but tags. For instance, say I'm opening a new screen here. For instance, let me share my screen here. I'll just show you. It may take some time for the screen sharing, I guess, because it's loading a little slow. Okay. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, wait. Did you raise hand? Do you have a question? Actually, there's a problem. There's a little problem in screen sharing. I'm sorry. Closing this. I'm closing this off. Let me restart this. Yeah. You cannot see it, right? I'm sorry that there was a little problem on my side. The internet connectivity was a little slow. Can you guys hear me now? Hello? Yeah, cool. Awesome. Yeah, Sandeep, you have raised hand. It seems there was a message here. So, I'm just talking about how internet works actually. What happens when someone? Yeah, nothing. I was just saying about what is this class about and a little about me. Like you can, if you miss anything, I can still find this out on YouTube. Like I'll be sending the links on the YouTube, so you can view this later. So that's not a problem. Yeah. So cool. So I was talking about like what is HTML. HTML is split into two parts like hypertext and markup language. Hypertext is nothing but linking between different URLs like say google.com, facebook.com. It's all about linking them together. And markup is nothing but tags. What exactly are tags? Let me uh, type it here. So for instance, if you go to any URL, I'll start sharing my screen. This would happen previously, like it got stuck while I was sharing my screen. So let me see if it goes good now. Yeah, I hope it's going good. Yeah, yeah. Can you see my screen, everybody? Can you hear me? Hello, hello. if you acknowledge me, I can go forward, or I'll just stop sharing my screen so that we can go ahead and continue the class. Yeah, I'm stopping the screen share. I guess it's eating up the bandwidth too. I'm not connected on LAN. Let me. Hello, everybody. This been killing me. Screen share. Yes. Want to close the screen sharing? Yeah, actually, there's a related problem in screen sharing. I guess maybe I fix it today, and I'll have a screen share for tomorrow. But now, yeah, there's. I'll talk about what exactly are tags. Say, I said HTML is all about tags. So, what is tag? A tag has every tag has a depth. You see some headings on web pages, or you see some external links, or you see some images. You can't see the class. It's just a whiteboard. Yeah, can you say it now, Sandeep? Cool. Yes, actually, I'll explain this screens later. Actually, would have done that before, but I started the class, so I didn't have time to explain about these boards. Fine. So whatever you see on the browser, say an image, a link. These days there are videos on the on the web pages, sidebars. So everything is a tag. We cannot just write something, and going forward you'll be knowing what exactly are the tags. So tags are nothing but they have a definite meaning. To show an image, we have an image tag. To show a link, we have a link tag. To show some text as a heading, we have header tags. So HTML is all about tags. So every tag has a definite meaning. So that is about HTML. HTML is, yeah, uh, not exactly labels. Say I say labels are nothing but associated to a particular item is a label. But we do a label tag in HTML and HTML5. So like every tag has a specific meaning, but we'll be knowing about it in the coming classes, like what exactly all the tags are. But in knowing the meaning, HTML is hypertext markup language. Markup language is nothing but a language. I say browser. Okay. Yeah, Lip, you can hear me now. Good. So that is a HTML file. So whatever the Google renders back or Google sends back to the browser is all HTML. So the main thing which we see on the browser is HTML tags. But there are some aspects of HTML, like HTML alone. HTML alone is enough to show the content on the browser. But you see, like in the pages, like say if you highlight, if you hover on a link, it gets highlighted. Or say the Facebook header is blue in color. Or say the Google doodle is placed exactly in the middle of the web page. So that is called styling. So HTML is all about the content in the browser, and we have other aspect of HTML which is called CSS. We'll be learning more exclusively about these items. So I'm just giving an introduction, like what is our web page has. If possible, I could share my screen and show it on my screen, but I'll do that tomorrow. We'll be having a class every day from now on, 5 days a week. So I'll be showing my screen tomorrow. Yeah. So then there's another part like styling the pages. Like, styling is nothing but how beautiful can we make the web pages too. It's like a makeup. We can make up to the content so that it appears beautifully. And there's another part comes, like say, what should happen when, say, for instance, I want a slideshow on my web page. So it's an action, like, what should happen every 5 seconds, the background should be changed, or every 5 seconds there should be a scrolling, or every action. So there are some actions. We'll be knowing more about these actions, and this for these actions we use JavaScript. People often confuse JavaScript with Java, but this is a language, I say, more like to make all the actions happen on the web pages. And we'll be knowing about JavaScript very in an exclusive manner. And to be frank speaking, this is the most popular language, I say, these days. Like people are looking for JavaScript developers very exclusively. Like these are rarely found engineers, JavaScript engineers, because to know JavaScript, it's pretty easy, but to master JavaScript, yeah, it takes ages. Like it takes more time. So we'll be talking about JavaScript later in the part of the classes. And I say, yeah, these three, like as I said in my description, like you'll be knowing the companions of HTML. So these two are the companions of HTML. Like to make a web page beautiful, we need CSS, and if we want to make some actions on the web page, we need JavaScript. So yeah, this is okay. So we have two types of web pages actually. Like you see some web pages, like say some what kind of web pages, like say resume. Take a guy has a resume website. Like for instance, this resume will not be changing most often. Like he will be changing a resume whenever he updates a project, he does a project. Websites wherein the content changes very rarely, or sometimes the content will never change. So this is nothing but plain HTML files. So since the content change anytime, so these are called plain HTML files. Then there are some websites, say for instance Facebook walls. Take your Facebook newsfeed. Like whenever someone posts something, it immediately appears on your Facebook wall. So these are like regularly changing content websites. So these are called dynamic websites. So as the name itself indicates, which never changes, dynamic, which changes pretty often. So there are two types of web pages actually we see in the world. Most often these days we only see dynamic websites. Like people, even if it's a people do change their style. Everything is dynamic these days. Even you take the blogs. Previously they all used to be static web pages. Now everything is like dynamic websites. Even someone take a lawyer who doesn't even change his content, but still he wants a dynamic web page. So dynamic web page is nothing but a web page which changes its content regularly. So previously we were talking about only HTML. HTML is all about static, like because it's a plain coding. What we write is what we see. So HTML is all about that. Now, what if I want something which changes regularly? Like for instance, my website, Tutoslive website. Every day I take classes and I'll be updating the content of the class. So I want something which changes pretty often. So for that we need something other than these HTML files, which would be more powerful, like which can interpret, which can compile. So for that purpose, we'll be using different languages. Among them, one is PHP. So PHP is a server-side scripting language. So what it does, If I want any changes in my web page which has to be done regularly, then I write a code just like a logic. I write my logic in a PHP file so that the server interprets the PHP code and converts it to HTML to and sends a response to the browser. Since the browser can only understand HTML, whatever the code we write, say it be PHP or any other scripting language or server-side language, it must be ultimately converted to HTML so that the browser reads it and shows to us. So they call HTML is a client-side thing and PHP is a server-side thing which only the server can understand. So server understands the PHP code, interprets it. Hey, for instance, I say 1 plus 2 equal to 3. So I can just write it in, I can still write it in JavaScript, but yeah, to understand the logic, we need PHP. So to change the content, most often we need PHP to write the logic into it. Then the web server interprets the code and converts it to HTML so that we can read it. So if you got any question here, you can just pop that to me. So what are the competitors for PHP? There are so many languages actually. Since I teach PHP, I'm saying it as PHP. There is ASP.NET, which is from Microsoft. There is JSP from Java, and there is Ruby, there is Python, there is Perl, and there are so many other languages which does the same job as PHP does. But the best part of PHP is like PHP is pretty easy to the learning curve for PHP is pretty low. I say PHP is very easy to coding or very easy to start with. So later on you can, if you want to jump from PHP to any other language, it's pretty easy. But if you right away jump into these languages, it's pretty I say not possible, but it's difficult. So for as a start, like I said, yeah, PHP's learning curve is pretty awesome. And the other aspect is PHP. Using PHP, you can get your websites pretty fast in the market. Like coding in PHP will hardly take for a web page like Tutoslive, it hardly took like for 1 day for me to get it out. It's a dynamic website again. So PHP is that fast. If I had coded in ASP.NET or JSP, it would have taken somewhere one ASP and JSP for a simple website. So I mean that's how PHP is vastly used. It became popular because it's very easy to get something into market. So the other aspect for PHP is like it's fast when compared to ASP, JSP, Ruby, Python, Perl. You can for a small website, say for a website like Tutoslive, there is nothing much for those websites. Yeah, PHP because PHP renders pretty fast. It doesn't have to compile anything. It's just a scripting language, unlike ASP is a programming language and Java is a programming language. So there is nothing to compile there. It's just to interpret there. It's just a scripting language. So I prefer PHP for small websites. But even you see like for a massive website like Facebook, which has got like one I don't know the count of the users it got, but it got somewhere around 5 million users on Facebook. Still, for such a huge website, they use PHP. So you can imagine how how fast PHP can be. So that's the reason people chose PHP. People again like 80% of the internet applications or websites are in PHP. Initially it was ASP, then PHP has suddenly picked up that boom when everybody started using PHP. And also like to find a PHP developer is pretty easy for any company, any startup, and yeah, because it doesn't take much time to learn PHP. So there are so many PHP developers too. So yeah, coming to the point, yeah, if there is a logic involved in my web pages, yeah, then I use PHP. Then the PHP is interpreted by the server, converted back to HTML so the browser can read it. So yeah, fine. Dynamic web pages, I said PHP. There is logic in. For instance, say take your Facebook. You send a message back in 2007, say in Facebook. So where is it storing? Like it cannot store the whole data on the server just like that. So there is something else to store the data. like your entire data. Whatever you see, you joined Facebook say far back in 2007, you still have the data intact. Like nobody is gone nowhere. So where is going? So here comes another aspect, a database. The name itself says a database is something that stores the data. It's called database server. So we have a server. This is just I'll change the name here. It's a web server I call, because server is nothing but a remote system. That's it. There's nothing big in it. Like it's a remote system wherein I can put my folders in or files in, so I can retrieve it from anywhere. So it's typically called a web server. So then comes database server. So what is a database server? Again, as I said, server is a remote machine. Database server is also a remote machine. Now this time it has data. It doesn't interpret anything. It only stores data. Typically, you must have been RL, MS SQL, MySQL, NoSQL. So these are all database servers. Like they store the data. So Facebook can retrieve the data now. There's a little hassle in it. Can you hear me? Yeah. So the database server is nothing but where the data is stored. Now, how do we communicate with the database server? Again, HTML or the web server cannot allow contact database server. It needs some interpreter to contact it. So that's where we use again PHP. So if I want to say, for instance, this guy from the browser wants to post on your Facebook wall, say he's typing a message. Hi. So it goes from here to the web server. So it's a plain HTML, like it's just a text, but it has to be saved in your database server so that it stays there, so you can see it anytime and anybody can see it, your friends, homes. So that's where the PHP, what it does, it takes the data and puts in the database so that you can access it later. The Facebook can access it later. So that's how whatever you're doing on the internet, it's getting stored actually. Like if you want to see it later, it means that it's getting stored somewhere. So I'm posting something, so it getting stored. So that's where I use PHP again. So PHP is used to make a communication between my web server and database server. Now, if I want to show that post to my friends, or when I log in later, I see the same post. So how do I get it? Like there is a code written in PHP which is used to retrieve the data from the database and convert it to HTML again, then send a response to the browser. So that's how it's working. Like every time I make a request, if it is a plain HTML file, render it back as it is so that browser can read it. If there is PHP, interpret it and convert it to HTML, send back to the browser. If there is a data involved in it, yeah, again make a request. Okay, if it there's PHP in it, I have to communicate with the database server, get the data, then again convert it back to HTML, show to the browser. Yeah, you have any question? I see you typing. No? Cool. The browser machine, the server, web server, and the PHP and the database server. Now I've been sending you guys emails regarding the blog posts, or even you got this class link via an email. So how do you get that? How did you get that? Like I did not talk about anything which sends us an email. So there is one thing. Yeah. P is a medium, yeah, which communicates. I mean, doesn't translate HTML. It translates my logic into HTML. We'll be talking. We'll be seeing more of that. But as of now, yeah, it's a point. Like it's just a medium. So I have data somewhere. Okay, and I have to retrieve the data, show it to me on the browser. So that's where I use PHP. I use, say I want to print 1,000 times your name. Say if I have to write it like in plain HTML, I have to write your name 1,000 times. But instead, I'll use a small piece of code which is just 2 lines, and I can. So that's how that's called logic. So I can write logic in PHP, wherein I cannot write it in HTML. But yeah, of course, I can write this in JavaScript. But I'll tell you the difference between what happens when. Yeah, exactly. What happens, I can use the same formulas on the client side too, on the JavaScript side too. But I'll tell the difference later, like, what happens when I do something on the client side and when I do on the server side. We'll be talking more about that. Not an issue. So yeah, that's how, like, yeah, now I was sending you guys emails regarding the classes or the content, the blog post. So how does it happen? Like, there is one more server which is called a mail server. These mail servers, what they do is, like, I'm writing a code in PHP saying, hey, send email to Arun, send email to Save, so that the web server interprets it and say there is a mail code in it. I said send mail. So what it interprets is like, hey, this guy is asking for a mail server, so let me go to the mail server. So it goes to the mail server and then goes to your email client, whatever it may be, Gmail, Yahoo, or Hotmail, whatever the email engine it may be. So it has to go to the email server from me. So for instance, you're getting an email from support@tutoslive.com. So what it does is, like, yeah, my support@tutoslive.com is from this mail server. So I had in a code in PHP. So it goes to the mail server, takes the content and sends it to you in the browser. Again, the thing is, it's getting converted into HTML because all my browser knows is HTML. That's it. It doesn't know any other language. HTML in a sense is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It only knows these three aspects, and that's basically talking about the important aspect. So again, it's getting converted into HTML so that you can see the email. So there is nothing in Gmail except sending and receiving emails. So Gmail is a mail server, Yahoo is a mail server. So every web server has a mail server set up on it. So whenever I want to send an email, I don't have to go to Gmail again and send the email. So this mail server has been set up on the web server itself. But still, it's a different server wherein it has to communicate to the mail server to send emails. So again, there are third-party servers, like, say, to send an SMS. So there are SMS gateways. If I want to make a payment, say PayPal is a different server again. It's a payment server. So these are called gateways. I call them as gateways, like servers. So it's all about communication between different things to get my job. So the behind the scenes, it is PHP. Like, if I contact with the database server, with the mail server, with SMS gateway, with PayPal, or these days, say, for instance, these days, what's happening is, like, your Foursquare or Google Places. These are all using data from different websites. So even if I want to get data from different websites, then again I have to use PHP. PHP is more like as servers or gateways, so that we have a better viewing experience of the web pages. So that is about PHP, HTML, and web server. So I have a better picture here actually. I guess the picture is gone. Can you see the screen? It says loading. Please wait. Yeah, cool. See here. So this client here, I say this client is nothing but our system, when anybody's computer. So we sit here, we open the browser, we type a domain. So where does it go? It goes to the web server first. So if it's a plain static HTML, if there is no PHP involved in it, it will directly render the pages so that the browser will understand that HTML and give whatever the content in it. If there is a dynamic HTML page, so dynamic, some code in it, some logic in it, I have to iterate or I have to check for some conditions to display the content. Yeah, it's called dynamic HTML page. Or if there is a constant updation of my content, it's again called dynamic HTML page. So if it is there, then it looks for PHP and it interprets and sends back to the client. If there is a database involved, then again, so business logic here is nothing but PHP. So we call it as logic, business logic. So if there is a database involved, yeah, it will communication with the database. if there is, these are like services are nothing but, as I said, the mail server or SMS gateway or a payment gateway or some other third party website wherein I wanted data. So these are called services. So if I want services, then I'll make a contact using PHP to these services, get back the data, again convert them into HTML, send it to my client or my browser. So this is the whole scenario happening over there. Whenever I type a address, yeah, it looks for, like, it's just like a postal address. It looks for the IP address essentially. It goes to that particular IP address, fetches all the what I requested. If there is PHP, yeah, here, go here. If there is database, yeah, via PHP, go to database server. If there is a mail, yeah, via PHP, go to SMTP server. So like such, it collects all the files which I wanted, and it comes to the browser. So this is about the whole web architecture. Yeah, am I clear here? Any questions here? Can I answer your questions? Exactly. Yeah, PHP is used as backend and HTML is a front end. Whatever we see is the front end, like whatever the browser can understand. Say again, see the client and the server. We can divide the whole web process or web application or website into two parts, like the client part and server part. Client part is nothing but whatever this browser can understand. The browser can understand HTML, the browser can understand CSS, the browser can understand JavaScript. So they are like client side or the front end process. But the browser cannot understand PHP, the browser cannot understand ASP, the browser cannot understand JSP. These are all server side technologies or the backend technologies. So even the database. So if I have to make any connection between database, services, dynamic HTML pages, I need a business logic which is PHP and it's called backend, the server side process. Yeah, right. Any other questions? So Sandeep, you're clear, right? I'll post a question if you guys can answer it. Hmm. Yeah, can you see the poll? If you can see the poll, you can just answer. Just to make things brighten. So who answered it? Yeah, two words. Got it. Got it. Awesome. You guys both answered pretty good. It's, yeah, web server. So my files are on the web server, and my data is typically in. If I want to store some data, then it's in the database server. Yeah, fantastic. So you're following me. So I just wanted to know that whether you're following me or not. So that is about today's class. I don't want to discuss more about HTML, but in tomorrow's class, yeah, somebody raise your hand. Yeah, in tomorrow's class we'll be seeing the first basic HTML pages, like how do we write the HTML code. Yeah, they do involve in the data. Data here, the data what I'm speaking about is something which is big, like say, for instance, Facebook or say Google. Whenever you type for a keyword in Google, say Tutoslive, it fetches so many results. So I call it as, I differentiate that as data, wherein some basic content, like say a few paragraphs. I'm not, it's data too, but I'm not referring that data as data here. The data here, what I mean is very big data. So just a few paragraphs or just 2 or 3 pages, yeah, I still consider them as like information, piece of information. It's data too, but not big data. Yeah, internet files do involve in data. Yeah. I don't exactly say. Well, and whenever you said that matter, I went into most more physical matter way, like say data is that. Yeah, being specific. Yeah, it's matter like content. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It is a better way to store data. Like everybody today, everybody like is trying to save the data instead of like just leaving someone. They are storing their emails. They are making them registered so that they can contact them later. So that's what's happening in today's internet world. Yeah. So if you have any questions, I can answer, or we can just end this session here and meet tomorrow. Cool, great. So about tomorrow's class, I'll be sending an email regarding what we will discuss. Yeah, same time. Every day is the same time. If you could get few more students, yeah, that would be I'll be so happy if you could get me few more students. But I'm fine. Even yeah, 9:30 IST. I'm fine teaching to even one person. So I just wanted to start. Yeah, that's okay. I just wanted to start actually. I don't want to just well, wire transfer. The payments are all wire transfer. So if you could make a wire transfer, yeah, I'm fine. I don't have any payment gateway integration because I'm just starting off. Like I want to pay 50% or 60% of. I'll give that. Like see, I did not talk about the payment in today's class because I just want to give an introduction. See how people will respond. So I want to talk about the payment in the coming week. Like say, I wanted to get carried away with HTML, basic HTML. Then the next week I wanted to talk about the payment. But yeah, so I'll give my account number too. I'll be sending emails. So I wanted to know like who are like fixed on the class and who are like fluctuating like to attend or not to attend. So this is like more like a demo. So I wanted to continue this demo for about another 1 week. Yeah, cool. Awesome. I know this you're in for since a long time. Thank you. So awesome. Great. Have a great day. Thank you.